Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Gemba 360 special legal update around the recent Stage 2 announcements that have been made. My name is Nihal Samara. I'm the General Counsel and Legal Director here at Gemba 360. These Stage 2 announcements, what we're going to just cover off, obviously extends Stage 1 that was announced only just a few days ago. With these announcements, the Commonwealth has, under the biosecurity legislation, extended its direction on specific activities, which we're just going to briefly cover off. But more importantly, what I did want to cover is how it actually may affect your individual agencies as a community service organisation, and what are the things that you should actually really, if you haven't already, consider. Obviously, these actions will occur from midnight tonight is what the timeline that has been provided. But again, where it actually overlaps with your agency's activities and obviously operations as well too is something that we'll briefly cover today. As always, we pay our respects to the elders past and present upon the lands on which we all meet. While this session is being run by webinar, we do pay our respects accordingly. So as I mentioned yesterday, at a press conference yesterday, which many of you would be across, the Prime Minister has announced Stage 2 restrictions under the biosecurity legislation. Just earlier today, this was reaffirmed in Victoria by the Premier in terms of what this will impact. New South Wales announced Stage 2 restrictions and how that would be impact in that particular space as well too. And we have summaries of these for each of the respective agencies, New South Wales and Queensland as well too. What has been identified since yesterday is that there is a slight variation between activities and restrictions that have been enforced across the different states. And one of the reasons that they are doing that is because there's a higher and imminent threat in Victoria and New South Wales as opposed to other areas of the country. And it is trying to address the speed at which the coronavirus is in fact moving. So effectively, as of midnight tonight, there are a range of closures that are extended from the last, from Stage 1. We have been told that while this is Stage 2, that effectively we will also be moving to Stage 3, and this is something that we have been informed about by both Commonwealth and state as well. This now effectively includes amusement parks, indoor and outdoor play centres, community and recreation centres. They've talked about health clubs and fitness centres as well too, as well as saunas, wellness centres, swimming pools, galleries and museums. I won't go through them, but a full list is listed here. For community service organisations, especially those that are providing group sessions, you will need to carefully consider what services you are running, especially in the aged care space, in the disability space as well too, because often group classes and other activities is something that you may already, you have been doing to date. But again, restrictions should start to be imposed by looking at the activities that the Commonwealth is in fact wanting and directing us to change. That said, this also then starts to apply to other bans where they're talking about hairdressers and barbers are limited to serving their customers for 30 minutes, weddings limited to 5 people, and funerals unfortunately up to 10, and physical trainers have to hold maximum of 10 people but have to hold classes outside. We have advised health centres and medical centres that some GPs are now moving to asking patients or clients, depending on where you sit in this space, to actually have the waiting room in their cars in the car park, and that's not an uncommon process that some agencies are in fact following, and they are effectively having a check-in, check-out point where receptionists are effectively either dialing, the clients are in fact dialing when they are in the car park, and effectively the car park is now the new waiting room until your appointment is ready, and then they are actually calling people in. So when we talk of stage 2 reception, stage 2 and how it's actually affecting other businesses, some of these very rules that are applying are now being applied into the health and community sector space. Equally, also when you're talking of hairdressers and barbers serving their customers up to 30 minutes at a time, again, many community health services are in fact trying to reduce their contact during this time, looking at teleconferencing where that can be done, or communications and appointments where that can be done, or equally limiting the time that they have with clients. Now, in saying that, there are many, many agencies, particularly in the disability space, aged care space, and also for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, all of which we provide advice to and work very closely with, where sometimes this is actually incredibly difficult to actually do due to the needs of those specific clients. And in these cases, what we are suggesting is that you actually look at how your business processes and certain programs and services need to be adjusted to comply as much with these directions, even though they may not directly apply to you. Following some of these recommendations would be the advice that we are giving to agencies in terms of trying to limit the spread of COVID-19 within your agency. Some of the restrictions that we are talking about also should be looked at from a work health and safety point of view. Many of you have already adopted the working from home policies and agreements that we sent out last week as well. The other part of it is that if people are in and at work, then making sure that you have your distancing, again, as has been spelled out under stage 2. If you are needing to work at work, then again, distancing rules should apply, and your work health and safety policies should actually be adjusted during this time as well. There are a number of positions that you should be across in terms of your travel restrictions as well too. For many agencies already, that has simply changed dramatically as well too. International travel is just not on unless for truly emergency type situations, and especially now for the school holidays for staff, we have already suggested that you provide directions and make it mandatory for staff to effectively limit any social gatherings in line with stage 2. And that's really a direction that should be followed directly from your agency. Some people have asked us, and some agencies have asked us, can we make it compulsory if for staff to comply with that, or alternatively make it compulsory if they do, that they've got to inform us about it. And our advice to agencies at this time has been yes to both of those questions around it. And if they do, then certainly utilising the COVID-19 assessment form, and from a work health and safety point of view, it is something absolutely that should be done for agencies. As I've mentioned in the past, you should have your pandemic policies by now well up. And if you don't, again, we've got those available for yourselves to use. The pandemic policies may well change and should be changing as we move through these different stages. Many agencies, if I can just add, have also looked at utilising the disaster side off the Gemba platform, and simply you can click on the red button on your dashboard, and that opens up the disaster side. As we move through each of the stages, stage 1, stage 2, etc., we will be updating this for you. With that, if there are specific activities that need to be assigned to you and your agency and notifications coming in from the department or Commonwealth, then we will be informing you and keeping you updated also throughout this particular platform as well. As always, those are our specific recommendations. We are keeping it short and succinct. If you do have any questions, by all means, please contact us on 1300 360 360. We have support numbers available as well too, that we are working 24/7 at least over the next 6 months in support of agencies like yourselves, because this, according to the Prime Minister, we should be planning for at least a 6-month disaster plan at this stage, and no doubt that stages 3 will be expected to follow. That said, we will open up the phone lines and just stop the recording as always.